As we know, the leading mobile platforms are native Android and iOS, and both have had interesting innovations recently. Let's talk about that. Hello friends, I'm Lazar from the DevRel team at Sentry, and I'd like to talk about the future of mobile development. A few years ago, Google and Apple released the Jetpack Compose and SwiftUI frameworks. Developing mobile apps with them looks really similar to developing mobile apps with React Native or Flutter. Both React Native and Flutter have had a declarative approach from the start. With Google and Apple now joining the declarative bandwagon, we can see that the future of mobile is declarative. But let's refresh our memory first. The declarative approach is when you describe how the final state of the UI should look like, as opposed to providing step-by-step instructions until you reach the desired UI, which is the imperative approach. In most cases, it takes a lot less code to describe a UI in the declarative way as opposed to the imperative way. Let's see an example. On the left side, we can see the imperative way. We have a simple view with a text view defined in the XML file, and then we have a Java file where we set the XML file as the content, obtain a reference to the text view, and set its text by calling the setText method. Now let's look at the declarative counterpart. There are no two files. Everything is done in a single Kotlin file. Instead of a linear layout, we use a row component, which contains a text component as a replacement for the text view one. And that's it. With less than 10 lines of code, we've achieved the same UI in the declarative approach. But we needed two files and a lot more code in the imperative approach. Aside from having to write less code, other benefits of the declarative approach are: theming becomes easier and much more dynamic, state management feels natural and plays a crucial role, the composition approach allows us to compose our UI by nesting components, dynamic layouts and conditional rendering are now straightforward, we can more uniformly refactor our code using the same tools that apply to the rest of the programming language. The code diffs in PRs are easier to understand, and since our UIs are built with actual data structures, we have the opportunity to run UI tests on our views as well. But of course, there are always some drawbacks to be aware of. It's worth mentioning that both SwiftUI and Jetpack Compose are 2 to 3 years old. A short research on the drawbacks will reveal the lack of documentation, smaller communities, some performance issues here and there, not all components from the previous frameworks are supported, and there are limitations when it comes to building more complex UIs. Though they are still evolving and improving, be mindful of the pain points if you decide to start working with them today. Thanks for watching.